The Apple Watch Ultra 3 has been an absolutely phenomenal device to use. So far, I've used it every single day since the day it came out, and I gotta say it, man, I am impressed. So today we're gonna go over a couple things that I've absolutely loved about the watch and a few things that I do think Apple needs to do better on the next version, so let's talk about it. First off, let's talk about the action button on the side. I, at first, was like, you know what, I don't know that I'm totally gonna use this thing all that much. As it turns out, I use the action button all the time. Now, I don't use it to start up, workouts and stuff like that. I find it easy enough to use the workout app, like just go to the apps on this thing. I'm trying to lift 4 days a week right now, and like you can't use this thing while you're bench pressing, especially I'm trying to heavy bench, and so it gets in the way for that, especially if you're using wraps and all that kind of stuff. But what I ended up doing with this, and I absolutely love it, is hold on, let me put in my password. When you hit the side button, I have mine to turn on my flashlight. Do you know how helpful that is to be, you're walking around in the dark and you can't see anything and, you just hit that little button on the side? I think I use it 4, 5, 6 times a day. So just make sure when you're going into your settings, you change it to something you're actually going to use. Now, I do have something with the action button that I think they should fix. Something I think that would make it actually way better. So stick around for that. The next thing I really loved is the battery life. The battery life on this thing is absolutely phenomenal. It is hard, having come from a Apple Watch Series 10, and the battery life on the Series 10 was really good. There's no way around it. It was solid. It lasted at least a day and a half. However, the battery life on the Apple Watch Ultra 3 is so much better. Right now, I'm getting about 3 days out of it total. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of charge it when I'm in the shower. The cool thing about this guy is when you charge it, man, it goes really, really lightning fast. I've really, really enjoyed that about this watch, that you put it on, you put it on when you're in the shower for, 30 minutes. I don't know. Do you guys take short showers? I take long showers. So weird information you needed to know today. So while I'm in the shower, it's charging up. If I do that, I'll get like 5 days before having to charge it overnight. The next thing I've really loved is having the ability to turn on the cell signal. I don't know if you know this, I run a tech channel, and when I'm in my normal day-to-day life, I don't like using technology as much as maybe the average person does. I like to distance myself. I like to use it as a tool because it is the most helpful tool. Like having a cell phone is the most helpful tool imaginable to human beings. However, it is taking over our lives. So sometimes I like to leave my phone at home and go out with my watch. The other day I was leading my son. My son plays lacrosse, so I was coaching his lacrosse team. I played my entire life. I was coaching his team. I didn't feel like taking my phone with me. I just had my watch, and that was awesome, which leads me into the next thing that I love. And while we were out at the field that day, we did not have any cell phone signal. And so I was like, oh man, my wife drove us. We needed her to come back as practice was over. And then what ended up happening was I got on my Apple Watch. I turned on the satellite feature, and I had to kind of like point it in a certain direction. And after a few minutes, or not a few minutes, probably like 30 seconds or so, it gave me the ability to communicate with my wife, even though I didn't have any cell phone signal. And so that was a real saver in that situation. So the fact that this watch has that, if you're out, I also used this watch when I was out in Asheville, and I was hiking a lot with my friends. There were times where we didn't have cell phone signal, and my watch did because it had the ability to connect to the satellite. Now, Apple is saying they're going to give you that for 2 straight years for free. So far, they've said that every year and have never taken it away, so I doubt that they will, but that is something that I've loved. The next thing I have absolutely loved about the Apple Watch is this right here, right there, that little notes icon. I am so grateful that the Apple Watch now has the ability to get into your Apple Notes. Here's the thing, I write everything down. I'm like obsessed with writing things down because I have a really, really terrible memory. And the fact that I can now go into my watch, I can find, any of my different, I can find my research videos to make. I can look through all my different notes if I'm really trying to figure out what I need to be doing for the day. I can do that. That is a massive, massive win for those of us who are big Apple Notes users. Now, I don't think that that's an Apple Watch specific, but that is a massive upgrade in watchOS 26, is the fact that we can now get all of our notes. Now, I don't know if there's too many people out there with as bad of a memory as I have. I find this incredibly helpful. The next thing I want to talk about is all of the tracking that you can do. My heart rate is not great. It's 89 right now. I'm pretty hyped up on making this video, but having all the tracking features is fantastic. I've really, really loved the sleep tracking that I've been getting. You guys are getting way too much information today, but I ended up getting a CPAP machine, and I was getting like sleep apnea notifications constantly. I got the machine going, did not go through my doctor, which I probably should have, but I all of the interruptions at night have gone way like to zero. There are no interruptions in my sleep now, and it's wild. But it's so cool that the Apple Watch was the one notifying me that I needed to get a sleep app, like a CPAP machine, because like every night I was waking up with like 7, 8, 9 like strong interruptions. So that was really incredible to know that this thing actually is going to help out. There's going to be a lot of stories. I mean, there's already been stories on my channel of people commenting and saying how the Apple Watch actually saved their life. And so this next year, there's going to be a lot of stories of people coming out about how the Apple Watch has helped them in their health. And so if you're somebody who does struggle with your health, I think it is a very handy thing to have. Now, there's some things about this that I have not really liked. And they're not huge. Like, I don't think there's stuff that should really like keep you from buying the Apple Watch, but I do think there's some things that I really need to mention. The fact that it is here, let me show you in this camera right here. The fact that it is this large, that's pretty big right there. I mean, that's when that sticks out and it hits your, like, you know, especially when you're sleeping and it hits your covers or pillows or anything like that, that's frustrating. Sometimes like when I'm getting stuff out of my pockets, it's really frustrating. And so the thickness of here, I'll show you the thickness of this guy real quick. The thickness is just kind of an issue for me. I get it though. I do understand that it's got to have a lot of battery life, and so having a thick Apple Watch is kind of just what you got to do. But it would be so cool maybe if they made it like longer or bigger as a screen size and we're able to spread that out a little bit. You know, it is what it is. The other thing I really wish they would have the ability to do was to take the action button right here and either give you 2 action buttons or split this one into 2, because I like having the ability to use that flashlight. I mean, like I said, I use it every single day. But it would be so nice to have that and then like the ability to start a timer or something like that with just another click of the button. I don't see a reason why they couldn't, you know, just cut that button in half and you know what side of the button you're pushing. I think that would be an extra really helpful thing. Apple, if you want that, take that advice. You know what I mean? The next is I do wish that the battery life were a little bit longer. I totally get people who have Garmin watches. They will use this watch for a couple days and they'll be like, man, that's nothing. You see, my Garmin watch, it lasts 19 days in a row and I don't ever have to charge it because the sun exists. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's not in the Apple ecosystem, so it doesn't really interest me all that much. That being said, Apple has some new technology of batteries that they need to unveil. I mean, everybody, that's like the big, we don't need more power in devices anymore. I'll say it that way. We don't need more power. Devices can do everything we need them to do right now. What we need is better efficiency and battery life. And so when battery life technology changes, they need to get that into this Apple Watch immediately. The last thing I don't like about this thing is this band that I got. It's the fabric-y one. It is a great band for like everyday life. The issue is that when you get it wet, it stays wet for a while. And so I'm used to the Series 10. I had the rubber, the rubber one. So I wear it in the shower, jump right out, towel off, and it was never wet. This one, if I use it, like sometimes I'll, if I sit like this, I'll have like a piece of white or wet spot on my shirt. I don't really like that. And so that's something that if I were to do this over, I would get a different band. Granted, you can get different bands anytime you want. So the question we're asking, who should actually get the Apple Watch Ultra 3? I don't think if you're on a 1 or a 2, I don't think it's worth upgrading right now. If you're on a Series 10, I don't think it's worth upgrading. If you're on a 9, maybe it's time to start considering, upgrading. But the 9 probably still feels pretty good. And so if you're going to, like the 9's battery starting to degrade over time, if you're going to upgrade, I would just go to the Ultra 3 because they're going to last 5, 6, 7 years. And then if you're somebody who really needs that tracking, the health tracking, and you need battery life, like I know there's a lot of people who will use this. There's older people who like to go camping and stuff, and they'd like to still have all the tracking and the battery life, and that's just really helpful for their health. And so if you're somebody who's like, you really, you need your health stuff checked out, I would do that. And so I really would say I can really, really highly recommend the Apple Watch Ultra 3. I think it is a phenomenal device. It is a little chonky. I mean, there's no way around it, but for what it is It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I recommend it. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. If you want to save a little bit of money, you can go with the Ultra 2, and it's like 98% of as good of a situation as this one is. So you can decide, what you want to do with your money. But I'll leave a link in the description below with both of these to Amazon. I will get a little tiny kickback, maybe like $2 or something. So if you don't want to use my link, don't worry about it. But all right, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Like this video if you found it helpful. Sub to the channel. Let me know in the description if you are enjoying the Apple Watch Ultra 3 or who you think should upgrade it, or just tell me what you ate for lunch today. All right, love you guys. See you in the next one.